women, look, here's and we'll get to Megyn Kelly in a second. Now she's taking flack because of what she said about the Kardashians. Same kind. It's this vanity. Yeah. Look, it is true. There is a double standard. Just to be clear, there is a double, and it's not that we're setting it. Biology is setting the standard. Men don't have that kind of a window. Men can have kids well into their, gosh, Abraham. I mean, you go like it probably into your 90s. I don't know, but I'm sure it can be done. I mean, you need assistance. But you do have a certain window. And if you're saying, oh, I'm going to waste my 20s, and women often get into their 30s and they go, they end up settling. You say, I'm not going to settle for anything less than perfect when you're in your 20s. And then you end up settling for a trash bag in your 30s because now you're up against the clock. And I'm not saying, just to be clear, people use this term slut shaming all the time. No, look, I'm not slut shaming anybody, okay? That being said, look, can we all acknowledge that not most women are whores, okay? Let's be clear about it. Probably not even a plurality, okay? But some are.
And it's a bad idea.
Are we not allowed to say that some are at this point? Yeah, if you're just going on and you're going into it with the mindset of, I am going to sleep around, because it's my 20s, some women are.
And we'd like to thank your dad.
What's going on? Starts with Kenny here today. We react to a Louder or Crowder clip talking about, some of the young millennial women, Gen Z women. This is primarily a mindset that I noticed in people of my generation and younger, that they waste away their 20s and then expect to get like top of the line pickings in their 30s. And one of the benefits, I believe, that dating with a purpose happens, and I think a lot of feminism and all that stuff has not given women a full picture of the reality of dating in the real world, as like I like to say, is that in your 20s is where you're at your most beautiful, where socially you meet the most available options as in terms of a mate. But as you get older, less and less people will be available, like less and less people will be single. That we're not giving women a holistic picture of the dating realities, in my view. But I digress. Let's get into the video.
All right, so let's watch this first really quickly. There was a group of women on a podcast here. This has been making the rounds. And I guess the host, I'm not familiar with it, but the host kind of called them to task and they didn't know what to do with it. They're proclaiming what a wonderful thing it is for women in their 20s to not be in relationships. And they use these broad terms like explore themselves. Anyway, just see how this goes down.
Yeah, like why would I take someone seriously when clearly they're not taking me seriously at all?
Yeah. Especially because we're all like in our early 20s. Like this is the time
to like explore and find yourself too.
When you say explore and find yourself, does that mean just like get run through by a bunch of dudes? I just.
You see how they smile though? Like it's part of it though, and I think that's exactly what you're doing, because to me, you don't find yourself. I believe in this life, you create yourself. It's self-actualization, right? There's an ideal version of you that you see in the future and that you want to become, and you take steps of becoming that, right? If I want to be fit, I want to be like 109, like let's say I want to be 190. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to make a meal plan. I'm going to do a workout plan so I can build my body up to the vision of a me that I want to see in reality. People older than you in the past, right? Learn from the past and say, hey, this didn't work out quite well for most people who do this route. Am I willing to accept the consequences of my action? Yes, okay. But I think a lot of women have this like delusion almost like that, oh, I could pick and choose when I'm gonna get married or not. And to me, marriage is like more of a privilege than a right. You can't really plan to get married. I think it's like when the opportunity arises, if you take it or not, you miss your chance, and that's it. That's just my take. Let's continue.
I'm just translating.
The correct answer is yes. That's what they meant.
Or girls.
Yeah. Yes. Here's the thing. You're like, we're in our 20s. Yeah, the World War II was won by women in their 20s. Like that was a big part of the war effort. Yeah. Like back in the day, women in their 20s were working. They had children. They had established families. They had a home. And I know that you say that's the deck is stacked against you, so you can't do it. It's completely untrue. You don't have to, in your 20s, have a bunch of meaningless relationships and one-night stands. Yeah. If you want to, fine. Just don't espouse it to other girls, as though that's the norm.
Yeah, that's one of the main problems with this. Like, a lot of people are giving dating advice. A lot of people are just saying, hey, let's do this thing. This is the in, this is the popular thing. Like I always say, just because something is popular doesn't necessarily mean it's right, correct, or the best way to do things. Because end of the day, it's just a perception. It's just based on what you prioritize. Hey, if I'm looking to find a partner, then find it immediately. Like, your best time to find a partner, I believe statistically, is in college. After college, your chance of finding a suitable partner dwindles significantly down. Now you can still find people. Like, end of the day, people will find workarounds around this issue. But my thing is, you know a lot about a person earlier on than as they get older, because it's habits. People are a creature of habits. If you're used to being single all the way to your 30s and then you find somebody, that's a lot harder of a relationship to like kind of cohabitate with, because you already got stuff on your own. You already got used to being able to do things on your own without being accountable to someone else. It makes it a lot more friction to bring someone else in, right? Because at the end of the day, marriage is a team sport, and I don't think marriage is something that most people should have a expectation of having in this lifetime, especially in my generation of millennial and Gen Z. I think about only 10% of people are worth marrying, in my view. Like, every 10 people you meet, only one person is actually a contender to be a marriage material, in my view. And a lot of them, what dictates a successful marriage is based on your values and your character, and if you guys properly align and mingle that way. I'm just thoughts I'm just thinking about on the top of my head, hearing Crowder and stuff. So let's get back into it.
They play baseball with Rosie O'Donnell.
Yep, they did.
They did that too. Yes.
Until their window closes. That's
Yeah.
the problem. There's no ovulating in baseball.
No. Is she peeing that long? Oh, no.
Here's women. Look. And we'll get to Megyn Kelly in a second. Now she's taking flack because of what she said about the Kardashians. Same kind. It's this vanity.
Yeah.
Look, it is true. There is a double standard. Just to be clear, there is a double. And it's not that we're setting it. Biology is setting the standard. Men don't have that kind of a window. Men can have kids well into their, gosh, Abraham. I mean, you go like probably into your 90s. I don't know, but I'm sure it can be done. I mean, you need assistance.
Yeah, my thing is that like we don't want to accept reality for what it is. We want to make reality conform to what we think it should be. And in the day, we all got strengths, we all got weaknesses, right? And that's what makes that's what makes it fair, right? LeBron James has strengths and weaknesses that Stephen Curry don't have, and Stephen Curry has strengths and weaknesses that LeBron James don't have, right? Both of them are basketball players, but they're both are being basketball players in their own way. And I think that's what men and women should start looking at each other as. Hey, this is my condition, my burden of performance as a man, and this is your burden of performance as a woman, and just accept that instead of trying to be like, oh, we all should be evaluated the same way when we're not the same. We both have different capacities to do different things, and that's reality. If you want to be mad at reality, oh, that's not sex. Well, I guess you're saying reality is sexist. But what you can do about it, you can't really change that. Technology can help try to bridge the gap, but even then, there's still a discrepancy there. And to accept that makes you a lot more, hey, here's my limitations. Let me work within those limitations. And you'll be a lot more happier, a lot more content with your life when you actually know the limits of what you're capable of and you work within that, right? He who knows himself rules the world, right? If you know what your strengths and weaknesses is, you know how to navigate through the world because you have a realistic sense of where you stand in the world. If I'm a short player, no way in hell should I waste my time trying to dunk when I could be focusing my time and energy on other things that will be more productive for me as a player. And this is how we should approach life, in my view. But I digress. Let's continue.
But you do have a certain window. And if you're saying, oh, I'm going to waste my 20s, and women often get into their 30s and they go, they end up settling. You say, I'm not going to settle for anything less than perfect when you're in your 20s. And then you end up settling for a trash bag in your 30s because now you're up against the clock. And I'm not saying, just to be clear, people use this term slut shaming all the time. No, look, I'm not slut shaming anybody, okay? That being said, look, can we all acknowledge that not most women are whores, okay? Let's be clear about it. Probably not even a plurality, okay? But some are.
Well, I'll even back the claim that in 2022, we just figured it out. Abortion, we underestimated abortion, right? A lot of unmarried women came out and voted for abortion. Why? Like, imagine that. Unmarried women would rather suffer higher cost of living, a bad economy, a recession of incoming, right? They rather suffer through that. Their day-to-day lives becoming harder on a personal level just to have the ability to choose life or death for their babies, right? That's how much accountability women do not want to have. They don't want to be responsible for their actions and then the repercussions of those actions. I decided to lay down with this man. I want to have the eject button at all times. I want to have the ability to at all times control whether I have reproduction or not. I don't want to suffer the consequences of my bad mating choice. If I chose a man that I was like, oh, he was only for fun, but not for a long-term relationship, eject button. That's why I think that if abortion was taken away, women will be a lot more discreet of who they sleep with. But the fact that birth control and other things played a factor into emboldening women to be more reckless with who they choose to be with. And this is what's, I think, driving this culture of, oh, figuring myself out. We don't want to be held, like we don't want repercussions for our actions or our bad choices. And I think this is where it really stems from, especially in my generation, the millennials. We don't like repercussions for anything we do. We did a bad choice with our degree. We want student loan forgiveness. And this culture just keeps going and going and going. And it's almost like social media is creating my generation and Gen Z to be more narcissistic, more self-centered. And I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. We flip it. We don't say, what can I do for my country? We go, what the country can do for me. And you see it in our voting patterns. We got Fetterman. And I think that's why. Because we want what the country can do for me. Oh, the Democrat Party promised me this. Okay, Fetterman, I don't care if you're not a coherent. You just vote with Biden so I can get that student loan forgiveness. Michigan especially, there was a big story about it in Michigan. A lot of college turnout came out in Michigan. That's why you got Whitmer. And I think it's about time we try to like talk with millennials and Gen Z a lot more. But I digress.
And it's a bad idea.
Are we not allowed to say that some are at this point? Like, yeah, well, if you're just going on and you're going into it with the mindset of I am going to sleep around because it's my 20s. Some women are.
And we'd like to thank your dad.
Yes.
Oh, jeez. Who's at home?
By
with
that
a
we mean
shotgun
stepdad.
right now. Yeah. No, I mean these
And
ladies
second stepdad.
Yes.
Yes, and thirdsies. So,
The one that didn't go to jail.
yeah.
Right. And the guy who kissed you at the PTA meeting.
Why don't you just find guys that are serious about you? Don't settle for the guys that obviously aren't taking you seriously. By the way, if you want to be taken seriously, be somebody that can be taken seriously as well. You didn't quite look like that, but you're young. I get it.
It's this baseline. of, we're in our 20s, so this is what we do. Something happens in college. I was in college, so I, was getting ripped all the time. Look, I drink. I'm not someone who, I don't drink a lot. I have no problem with people who drink. I have no problem with people who do these things responsibly. But to say, well, the baseline is if you're in college, it's 4 years of glorified alcoholism. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
And this is perpetuated by, of course, the entertainment industry saying, well, this is what women should do in your 20s. This is what you should do in college. No. You can make good decisions at any point in your life.
Yeah, that's one of the things I also find I also struggle with a lot in college as well. Was when I was in college, like there was this expectation that you had to do certain way, and I was like, "Yo, is that really freedom? That you're expected to do something? You're expected to act a certain way? Oh, you're in college, you're supposed to be like this. Wouldn't it be like you're independent or free thinking adult is when, hey, I indulge in this, but I don't necessarily want to indulge in this part of college. Oh, I'm here trying to read books and whatever, discover myself, but I don't want to party with the other kids. But it's almost like this peer pressure, and they rely a lot on peer pressure. And this in cultures, in our Hollywood movies, they portray this like, oh, this is what's normal. This is a normal thing to do, and you get caught up in that. And they saying that if you're not the master of yourself, someone else is. If you're a trend chaser, we're susceptible to all this social engineering, and that's what I call social engineering. How you're not being engineered to think the way you think. And that's what I'm saying. Question your thinking. I question mine. I say, hey, do I really believe this? Why I believe these things? And have a clear answer. Don't just parrot things you've heard before or you saw in a movie and then you're saying, oh, that's how I'm a pattern my life after that. Because at the end of the day, you suffer the consequences of those choices that you made trying to pattern what you seen in a movie. And then when everything goes downhill, you ain't got no one to stand for. They're like, hey, you chose to do this. Right? After you get vaccinated, oh, yeah, and then you find out other things like negative consequences with the vaccine. They're like, well, it's too late. You can't take it back, right? They always want to admit after the fact. After you run through your 20s and you're single and alone, that's when you realize, oh, man, maybe I should have prioritized dating with a purpose a little bit more. And I always say this, in our modern culture, they advise women to date as if you're driving a car with no destination. And then once you race out all your gas, you're going to be like, oh, I really wanted to go to this destination, but you don't have the gas to get there anymore. That's dating. You don't have the time to find that person anymore. Your egg clock is running out, women. At 35, you become high-risk pregnancies. So biology is warning you, say, hey, you got to make your priorities quick. Either you're going to prioritize career or family. Women have to make that choice very young. Hey, that's the trade-off. Men have no value when they're young. Like, no one cares about young men. Men have to become something. Women, yeah, everyone care about y'all from birth, but there's a trade off with that. You're preserving your value while men are creating their value. That's a good analogy I heard somewhere. Let me know in the comment section where I got that from, because I remember I was watching some videos and I got that somewhere. But I digress. Let's continue.
And they're so dumbfounded. Like, is that what? No, that's not what we mean. Well, what do you mean? I mean, have a bunch of relationships and sleep with a lot of guys. Okay, here's the issue. And I will say it is a double standard when people say, why am I a slut if I do this and men aren't? Okay, that is true. Here's why. You're the gatekeeper. Women should say no, and men should, of course, respect no, to be clear. But your set point, women, you control access to sex, right? Because your natural set point is no, I don't know, prove your worth. A man's natural set point is please. So you are the rate limiting factor. Take advantage of it. We've tried to empower women by stripping them of something with which they're powerful. The ability to pick a suitor.
Yeah, in this current culture, we're incentivizing women to be less selective. And this is what leading to all these like, for instance, one of the main issues I think is hurting the black community is the fact that, and this is men or women, I don't care, the black community as a whole, we don't value sexual discipline, right? This is why black women are have their highest rates of single motherhood. This is why we have the deadbeat dad stereotype on black men. Sexual discipline. We have sex with people who are not necessarily good long-term partners, and then when the baby is happening, they suffer the consequences of that irresponsible mating choice, right? That's all I'm saying, and that falls in line with a lot with Crowder's pointing out here, that in our culture we're teaching women like nature-wise, nature was telling them, yeah, women have to be selective, women have to be this, and in our culture, we're socially engineering women to be like, no, don't be selective, don't do that, just have sex with anybody, whatever. And this is abortions or get out of free jail card if you ever suffer the consequences or the repercussions of engaging in indiscriminate sex. I'm just saying that's the reality. You may not like it, you may not want to hear it, but end of the day, this is something I would tell my daughter. Hey, you got to make your choices real quick. What you want? Do you want a family or do you want a career? Okay, if you want a career, you can do both, but one has to be a priority, even if it's a slight priority. Okay, I want to find a partner in college. Okay, college is your best shot. Find one, ride with them, and then y'all build together. Those tend to be the most successful, I think, marriages, because I think there's a stat out there that the less partners a woman have sexually, the more higher probability of success for marriage or rates are correlated with, right? I'm just saying. It's so crazy how a lot of people will get mad about their feelings getting hurt than rather hearing the truth about a matter or the reality of the matter, right? If you got cancer, right, and the doctor tells you your diagnosis, hey, you're diagnosed with cancer, would you get mad at the doctor because he told you had cancer? Or what? Or you would appreciate, yeah, it sucks, yeah, it hurts that to find out, damn, I could die tomorrow, but you're more focused. Okay, what can I do about it? I know the reality of the situation. What can I do about it, doc? And the doc gives you some of the options you have. Hey, we can cut it out. Chemotherapy, change your diet, maybe help minimize the growth. Right? You start trying to figure out how can I not make the situation worse. But that's not what we do in our society. We over codify people, especially women. That's a big point. I don't think that's why a lot of times women can't really compete with men in the career aspect, because men get the harsh realities of, hey, you're not good, you suck, you this, and then men like, oh, I gotta work harder. While women, everyone's kind of like, oh, land the plane softly, tell her softly, let her down smoothly, and they always feel, oh, I'm not that bad, when in reality, yeah, you're really that bad, or your art sucked, but they won't tell you your art sucked because you're a woman. They'll say, you could do better. Oh, okay, right? You don't try to correct it with the urgency as someone who get like a man. Your art sucks. This is trash. Look. Oh my God, no fundamentals. And then the guy will have to reevaluate his entire thing and be like, if I want to get better, I have to like start from scratch and readjust everything. But hey, that's all I wanted to really show about the video. The full video's in the clip in the description below if you want to see the whole thing. But I want to end it off here. Let me know, guys, what you think. Do you think women get a holistic view of the dating market and where they actually stand, or you think they just get a lot of at a girl, pat on the back, and just go out to go ruin their lives? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.